Hello my dear subscribers and channel viewers. In today's video I have translated for you very interesting interview by Soviet worker. He has met a dark alien.
This happened on the night of November from 2nd to 1 in 1089 year, near the city of Plesetsk, Archangelsk region. The driver of KAMAZ, Oleg Kirzhakov, and Nikolai Nikolaevich Baranchikov was returning home to Moscow from a business trip. It was very dark, and suddenly, around one of the turns, the headlights illuminated a strange, fantastic object. The engine suddenly stopped, and the car stopped. Frightened, the driver sat in silence for a while, watching the strange object. After a while, Oleg says, "I will go." I tried to dissuade him at first. I say, "Don't go, we don't know what it is yet." But he still came out. I would like to consider it better to approach. I felt some kind of... whether it was a protective field of some kind around this ship. Whether it was fear, I couldn't tell. When I stopped and stood there, I took a few more steps and realized that something was holding me back. And then, automatically, I caught myself thinking it was a flying machine. I received a signal telepathically, which was duplicated by the flashes of the crane. In front of the eyes at a distance of about an arm's length, and on it like this here. It is written that an open fire is needed. I didn't know what it was right away. What exactly is needed? I tried to reach the screen with my hand. Well, he slipped, whether he was somewhere in my mind, or whether he really was.
So it's immaterial?
Yes, I tried, it was not there.
I saw this moment as he used his hands several times, like this, as if he was trying to feel something in front of him. At that time, in the USSR there was no concept of the hologram images. Didn't that surprise you?
In general, it surprised me. I thought for a few minutes about what kind of fire they needed. Then decided that they really needed fire or some source of fire. I turned around and walked along the other side of the road along with the car. This field that was holding me back either moved away or disappeared. I no longer feel it. When I went to the car, I took matches and, against icing and freezing, we carry alcohol with us. I took a container of alcohol, the bottle was there, came back again, closed the door. I went back to the same place, gathered the dry leaves on the roadside, poured alcohol over them and set them on fire. I saw that an opening had formed on this device. It wasn't there before. The wall was smooth in the distance. There is a light burning. Well, there is no light like this, it is light inside. And I noticed that something was moving in my direction along this opening, and I decided that it was in this device. Then fear took hold of me, and I began to slowly back away. Did you see a silhouette? Yes, like a shadow coming over me from the machine. The moment I saw him, no, and when I saw slowly backing away, tripped on the side of the road and almost fell at the moment when I looked up. This silhouette was already moving away from my fire. In this object along the corridor, then I went slowly back to the same place. Not immediately, therefore 2 or 3 receptions, attempts, and noticed that the matchbox was no longer there. After standing there for quite a bit, I decided, I think, what is interesting? Is it possible to get closer? And again the screen lit up. Well, I don't remember exactly now, but I was given a positive answer. And I decided that perhaps, since I was in no danger, I would go and see what it was. It stands on 3 pillars, so it stands on 2 pillars and the 3rd pillar served it. it broke 3 large trees, 3 birches. This machine didn't have any steps, and I didn't see any lifting device there. The cut of this opening was much higher than
And how high was the opening?
the opening of the order of about 2 meters.
2 meters?
Yes,
And the width?
the width was about 1.5 meters. I thought, how am I going to get there? From the body of the device, such a rod moved out. It first passed horizontally, then into the ground, and as such a railing. I took it, and instantly found myself already at the cut of this opening.
Oleg noticed the racks with the device located along the walls and the control panel that moved around the circle. Colored lights glowed on the instrument panels, forming various geometric shapes. Then other 2-meter-tall creatures appeared in the hall, also shrouded in a dark haze.
What are these creatures?
Who are they, and where did they come from? Questions popped up in my head. In response, the dome of the hall began to gradually fade, and a picture of the starry sky appeared on it. One of the stars began to grow larger and burn brighter than the others. Is this the star you came from? Oleg asked mentally. Yes, came the telepathic reply. Is she in our galaxy? And again a positive response. There was no fear, and Oleg again asked a question.
Well, I asked this one if they have a base ship or what kind of ship they are launching. They said it was a model defined there. Then I asked the purpose of the expedition. They said it was scientific, but it's all telepathically through the screen. In the future, I did not even read this screen on a telepathic level. Several times, I just thought about it myself, didn't say anything and got the same answer. I asked if it was a single planet or a single star. I got the answer that it was from different sources. I also asked the question, what more expeditions, good or bad, and for what purpose do they land here? They said it was on the good side. I only wanted to give them a watch. I had a watch in my hand. They refused and said that they had complete information about the Earth. They can probably have information about everyone, because when I entered this device and when I took the handrail, they named my body temperature, meaning one touch should have been enough. Apparently the rod was both an elevator and probe. I asked him what was driving the ship. They told me that it was due to electromagnetic fields. What kind of engine they have? I didn't ask anything about it. I asked what kind of opening is this, and an image of the same ship appeared in it. I first thought it was some kind of built-in camera and filmed inside the hall. Well, I noticed that I didn't see myself in the doorway. Then the picture changed and slightly different configuration of the hall. But also the creatures are the same. And on the first, once there were, and the second, and then I could not understand what it was. The image is as three-dimensional as if there are people behind this opening, and then the picture changed and showed our program time. It is news program. There were 3 creatures, then a 4th appeared. Between them apparently, they don't start a conversation.
Began to show some activity between them.
Yes, I realized that. Something was brewing, and I was still afraid, but not to this extent. I became afraid that nothing would happen, and I asked them, you probably need to, not ask to fly away, ask to move, and received a positive response. When we parted from them, I asked, could I talk about it there? About what I saw. I also received a positive response. Here is another thing. But can I still see you? They said, if you are in danger, we will find you within 15 minutes. Slowly, I turned around and went back. Turned around, then the opening was no longer there. I thought to myself we should go to the car, because if they fly away now, then something may happen to us. And I received the answer that there is nothing wrong. I can't stay in place. I even considered these questions from the screen as a precaution. After that, this object, this part of it, began to rotate. The middle and the dome began to rotate slowly in the other direction. The faster it spun, the brighter it began to shine. First, there was a single strip of articulation from the top of the dome from this one. Then these nozzles, they all merged into one. And in general there was a spot like this somewhere, and its color changed. That is, the object itself was not clearly visible. There was such a spot, then I heard a crackle that apparently leveled off. He stood a little obliquely, as I said, leaning on a few trees, then swung and flew noiselessly. That is, there was absolutely no noise, no wind, no noise. After that, here I noticed something to meet us about 120 meters away. There is another KAMAZ, and behind it there was another passenger car, a Moskvich. The people who were there, a man and a woman, they immediately ran up to us after the device flew away and began to ask, what was it? That is, they also sat in the cars and watched the whole thing. I think they even tried to get out, but they couldn't come up because whether it was the field that I couldn't get over. It seems to me that I didn't shrink in the end, but rather expanded, and we ended up inside this field because people could not come up. Well, they asked what it was, but it was a big shock for me. There was practically nothing I could say, and the only thing I was asked, is this a UFO? And I said, I guess yes.